Judge Ellis found that Ardern and co had rolled out the jab unlawfully, and within 24 hours, I think it was May last year, that judgment was handed down by the High Court, and within 24 hours of that judgment, Ardern and Bloomfield and Hipkins and everything had just rushed into their little back room and changed the Medicine Act and gave them discretionary powers, and so they went on to just continue rolling this out.
G'day everyone, Mark here. We've got with us today, or should I say with me today, because it's only me here, we've got Amanda White. Now, she has been sort of a crusader as far as the High Court's concerned, and had many years dealing with that side of things. There are some people that deal with family court, some people that deal with criminal and district court. Well, if you want to know about High Court, Amanda's who you go to. And we are here basically to talk about whether or not there's any recompense to the average Joe blog in the court system, and just how fair, impartial and unbiased the court system actually is. And thanks, Amanda, for coming and jumping on the interview today.
No problems, Mark.
Cool. Right. Number one, how impartial are the judges in New Zealand, Amanda?
Well, I don't know about impartial, Mark. There's certainly no laws in New Zealand to keep them honest and competent, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Just give you a bit, for your viewers, give you a background. I was a property developer for many years, an honest property developer, actually.
That's very rare.
Got involved with in a relationship with a police officer, good as gold. Some of them are great, some are not so great. And through that journey of that relationship, and then after finishing that relationship, I found out that and I'm going to mention his name because I don't want to say lawyers or judges or police officers. I generally like to mention names because you have to get personal with people.
Yep.
A guy called Christopher Lynch of Lynch Papakura. He was my professional trustee for my family trust. My money, all my life savings were in there. My mother's life savings were in there, and he worked behind my back with this person who was a police officer. I won't mention his name because he's the father of my children. So for that sake, I won't mention his name. Mm-hmm. And Christopher Lynch and this police officer went behind my mother's and my back and literally ripped up our whole family trust.
Wow.
And it was only after I separated from this man, kicked him out, that I found out what was going on behind our back.
Right.
And then from there on, Mark started at district court, then went to High Court, then to Court of Appeal, back to High Court, back to Court of Appeal, up to Supreme Court. And through that insidious journey, I noticed one thing. And because I'd been...
What length of time was that? Over what length of time?
Oh gosh, from 2009 to 2000 and last year. Not last year, the year before actually.
So 10 years?
11 years, well it must have been last year, 11 years, 12
right.
years.
Sorry.
But prior to that, I'd actually been an owner of a Tennessee management company, so I had quite a bit of legal experience in that area.
All right.
Never lost a case, and the reason why I didn't lose a case is because I applied law, I applied rules. There was one case that I did lose, and went back for a rehearing and won that as well. I'm not trying to show off, but I'm a stickler for rules.
Well, yeah, you can be meticulous. Yep.
And in sections of law, you must be able to rely on them. Yeah. So after this,
you can't rely on the law. What can you rely on?
Exactly. Exactly. So I had, through this 11-year joint, or 12, 11, I don't know how long it is now because it's just muffled in one's mind. But the last time I went into High Court is a judge called Judge Roger Bell. And he was the only, and this is in High Court, the only person that I truly believed was, he's an associate judge, so he's not a High Court judge, was the one that was able to sort this whole malicious, what had gone on behind closed doors, the lies that have been told with judgments. And he just walked in after lunch, because we'd spoken in the morning. Crown Law got to speak first, I got to speak second, I hadn't finished the submissions, and he walked in with a 22-page judgment before it even finished submissions.
Well, how could he have done that, realistically?
Quite easily. I might as well not even turned up at court.
Already decided.
Oh gosh, Mark, I remember.
So Bell ended up being a bit of a dingaling then.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm going to say this personally on the video. He was the only person in High Court that I trusted, because I'd read some of his judgments. And I remember him reading out the oral decision after I'd finished my submissions, but they'd already been, I don't believe for one moment he'd actually written them himself.
Mm.
I believe someone else had written it prior to the hearing, possibly, I don't know, John Wild up at Court of Appeal. His surname is certainly apt for his character because he's out of control. And I remember Roger Bell reading out the decision and just looking at me as if he was so worried I was going to just jump out of my seat and come up and punch him in the head. For lack of a better term, I wouldn't do that. I'm not a violent person.
Mm.
At the end of reading a 22-page decision, amazingly enough, without even finishing submissions or giving any other evidential material to actually support, I just walked to that. He asked me at the end of it, "Do you have anything to say, Miss White?" And I just turned around and glared at him and said, "No, I do not."
Mm.
So I travelled home in the train with my mother. We didn't take the car in that time to Auckland Court, High Court. And I swore to goodness, Mark, I would never, ever walk into a court of law again until such time this was fixed. And what I mean by this was fixed is that these people that are employed as judges in New Zealand appear at that stage, before I knew what I'd researched afterwards, appeared to me to be able to do anything they pleased, irrespective of evidential material, irrespective of law. So I decided to sit down and do some research, and I thought, well, New Zealand has no authority to overturn Supreme Court decisions in New Zealand. We have no authority gone to the Privy Council. We can't go overseas to set aside New Zealand judgments. They've made sure of that. So I started researching, and the one thing that I did was look into the Judicial Conduct Commissioner's, Judicial Conduct Commissioner and Judicial Panel Act.
Yep.
And I think that's where I put up loads of videos on NZ Justice 111 to do with Law Society, but this is really passionate. As far as I was concerned, this is a really passionate issue.
Right.
And you can help me out with this, Mark, because you know the background of this. So what I did was I found out how many complaints had been made against judges since the office of the Judicial Conduct Commissioner had been opened. And there was 3,221 complaints. In fact, at the moment it stands, because they didn't apply to the complaints being filed to the Judicial Conduct Commissioner up until the 31st of July last year.
Right.
3,584 complaints filed against New Zealand judges since 2005.
Wow.
Guess how many, Mark, have been successful? And you already know this number, but for the viewers, guess how many?
Most people would probably say, out of 3,000, perhaps say 10%, say 300. But guess again. You want to give them a bit of leeway. Say 1% of the judges. That'd be 30.
The complaints, 1%. Maybe 1% was successful. We've got 3,584 complaints up till July last year.
So that's
zero, Mark.
Zero complaints upheld. So in the entire length of time that the JCC's been around, how many judges have been booted?
None.
And what's
never had a judge removed from office, ever. And the reason, and for your viewers, I suppose we're quite au fait with what's been going on behind the scenes for quite a number of years to do with the judicial process. I mean, I don't even call it a justice system anymore in New Zealand. It's just us system.
Yep.
To do with collective families like the Bouchier family. They're very well known within the legal industry, judges, and I mean, Peter Bouchier is the ombudsman at the moment. I had a run-in with him in 2017 to do with this Christopher Lynch. I mean, it just goes on. But I just want to keep to the subject. And I think with screen sharing, it'd be quite good because, let's go with screen sharing.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Great. Okay, so in 2000, this is what I found out with my research after dealing with Judge Roger Bell of the High Court. I find him an insidious man. I mean, he's just obviously wishing to want his pockets to be lined as opposed to justice. But if we go down, this is a particular report that the UN did with every country that signed up for the political and civil rights. And this is a contract. This is an international contract that New Zealand signed up. I think it was about 1979 or something. But people can correct me on that. I'm just going from memory, but it's probably wrong. But what is not wrong, if we go down here, Mark, go down further to page 50.
To page 50.
Scroll right down. Scroll right down. Go down. Keep going. Page 50. Oh, there we go.
Just waiting for it to load up. There we go.
Okay. Go up. Just go up slightly. Just go up slightly. So it's proving this. Okay, this is a report that was done about New Zealand. Now, luckily, a gentleman called Moto Singh made a complaint against a judge called Justine Bouchier. Now, remember that surname, Justine Bouchier.
Yeah, God, any relation?
Yeah, Bouchier, Justine Bouchier, who is the same surname as Peter Bouchier, who is the current ombudsman at the moment, who used to be the chief district or family court judge, who was also married to Hanuka Bouchier, who was, I believe, a barrister, but she was certainly a legal complaints review officer that used to look at decisions made by the Law Society. Oh, gosh, it just goes on. But anyway, if you go down, Mark.
Yep.
This is the defence that New Zealand offered up to do with Judge Josephine Bouchier interfering with criminal process.
Okay.
If you go down to the yep.
Judge Bouchier acknowledged that she made the alleged comments in public. She denied that there were any made in private. Secondly, Judge Bouchier was never the trial judge in the particular case involving Mr. Singh as the complainant. Thirdly, Judge Bouchier acknowledged that she had made an error. Heavens, no, say it isn't so. Really?
Yeah, but she's not made financially accountable for the damage, for the financial damage and outlet that this poor man had to suffer as a result of her so sorry attitude.
And the Chief District Court Judge has pointed out that there is no more that could have been done. What's this? This is interesting. What does that say? Can you see that? I can see that. There is no power in New Zealand law to discipline or reprimand a judge. So what's the point of the JCC existing? Well,
oddly enough, this is how cunning it gets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from here, Judge Josephine Bouchier was found guilty of, and it should be here, it says observations. I can see observations. You go down, Mark, observations.
Yep.
Okay, so in there, she's found guilty, as it's in the mere expression of regret by a judge concerned, but she's found guilty of interfering with the process.
Hang on. So it says here, what Judge Bouchier was not the judge in the trial in which Mr. Singh was the complainant. Judge Bouchier's conduct is tantamount to her having interfered in the administration of criminal justice in the matter.
Okay,
Gosh,
now remember,
locked up for that, wouldn't you?
exactly. Now remember that name, Judge Josephine Boscia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when there was just last year, late last year, there was to do with Brian Tamaki, right?
Yep.
Who's starting up these protests. Now, love him or hate him, okay, he is one person that has allowed Kiwis to come together as a combined group and show their disapproval of what Ardern has been doing in this country. Now, I watched this here. Now, if you can just screen share this, Mark.
I'll let you screen share it this way. That way you can
screen share. Okay, we're going to go share here.
Go for it. Cool.
When this drops down here. Here we go. YouTube. Now, watch this. Judge Boscia. Watch this. And I'll just move this over here.
It's not the one that's tantamount to criminal activity.
And then we have Tamaki present in the room there. Can you see and hear what is going on in the courtroom? Let's go back again. And then we have Mr. Tamaki. Right, this is New Zealand Herald. Now, I don't know whether this is the same Judge Boscia, but the surname is very, very unusual for a start.
Yeah,
given
the first name also matches.
Well, given the age of this woman, Mark, I don't know whether it's the same Judge Boscia, but maybe a niece of one of the relatives. I know, as I said before, this Boscia family is entrenched, as far when I do my fingers like that, it's like a web, entrenched within the judiciary and the justice system. It controls it a lot.
Right.
So whether or not it's the same person, I don't know. But this Judge Josephine Boscia, having the same name as what was found, she was found guilty by the UN for interfering in judicial process or criminal process. No disciplinary action was taken by the Judiciary in New Zealand in 2020 after an international authority had found her guilty. Nothing was done. So now we come to 2021. This is last year.
Brian Tamaki.
Holding this accountable. In the room there, can you see and hear what is going on in the courtroom?
I can see, thank you.
I will remand the matter on the same bail conditions to the date of the 11th of January of 2022 for call over with a warning. Thank you. How dare she warn him?
Well, but God forbid he wasn't exercising his rights, was he?
According to her, no. According to her, no. But then I found, when I was actually looking through this, I actually found something here to do with Tony Boscia. And he's another judge. Same family, right? Now, Tony Boscia is married to Josephine Boscia. And they're saying she's retired, right?
Okay, so that might be the daughter.
Possibly, but it gets more interesting than that.
Okay.
I'm trying, like, from farming to police officer, etc., etc. I can send you all these links when you actually put this video up.
Oh, it's here.
More interesting is what I found today was this article here is who is Judge Josephine Boscia, right? And what did she say about the Wanaka case?
Okay.
The Wanaka case was that couple that took off from Auckland and went down to Wanaka. Remember?
They were trying to protect the child.
No, they breached COVID rules. So they went down for a holiday or something.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, yes.
Yeah. So you go down here, and all of a sudden this retired judge is stepping in.
Oh, really?
Husband and children, yes. Wanaka case, Josephine Boscia, right? The couple that visited, and it says here, down the bottom here, District Court Judge Josephine Boscia owned the Wanaka property the couple visited.
Wow. So she's hardly partial, is she?
Yeah, it gets better. Guess who the son was, or the male was of that couple?
No. Don't know.
He is the son of Judge Sharp and District, I think, Charles Blackie, Judge Charles Blackie, who live in Karaka. Judge Sharp and Charles Blackie have different surnames to make sure that no one knows that they're married.
Wow. That's so they even change their last names or keep their names separate. So
they keep their names separate to make sure that you don't know that they are married.
Wow. So
one judge could be supporting another judge and you wouldn't have a bloody clue that they were related in any way or shape or form because their surnames are different, but they may be husband and wife or niece and cousin or whatever.
Boyfriend and boyfriend. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But what happened was, coming back to the United Nations, I'll just stop screen sharing here. Stop sharing. What happened, Mark, after after Roger Bell did what he did to me, and it was just, I'm disgusted with the man. He doesn't deserve to even sit on the bench, let alone, yeah. Was that I went into the Judicial Conduct Commissioners Act and I looked into the research, I looked into the whole background of it. And in 2005, we go back to that document, Mark, if you can bring it up, there's a document that I actually wrote last year. In fact, RNZ and News Hub did an article about this as well. So it's not as if I'm just a little bit of a pleb.
So we're still on page.
So that's the actual the document that I wrote.
Oh, okay. We can do that.
Great, thank you.
This one?
Thank you. This was originally going to go to the United Nations to sort this whole mess out in New Zealand. Because what happened was the New Zealand government to I suppose, trick the UN into believing that all of a sudden New Zealand has laws in place, processes in place to discipline judges, decided in 2000, and we can scroll down, Mark.
And that was because the rapporteur decided that there was nothing in place. So the judges were acting, well, without any fear of the law.
Well, they're above the law, Mark. There's no laws that control them. I mean, if you get in New Zealand, and it's not just New Zealand, it's Australia, it's Canada, most of the Commonwealth countries. I love the word Commonwealth.
Yeah, don't you?
Commonwealth.
What page would you like to
see that? Yet to see that. But what happened was the government at that time, I think it was National, someone, again, I'm just searching my memory here, but I may be wrong, it may be Labour, introduced the Office of the Judicial Conduct Commissioner in answer to Josephine Boshier being found guilty of interfering in criminal process and also New Zealand having no laws in New Zealand, the special rapporteur, which actually I've been told by a QC is actually a junior judge. But when you're a junior judge in the UN, that means it's almost like the level of a Supreme Judge in New Zealand.
Right. What page would you like here?
Go down. Go down. Yeah, we've got the special rapporteur. Okay, go up a little bit. Go up a little bit, Mark.
Yep.
A little bit more. Okay. When they introduced the no, I've got JJC. I should have actually put JCC. So, yeah, that was my fault. This is supposed to be an act or law introduced by government to make sure that judges in New Zealand, in answer to the UN in 2000, judges in New Zealand were kept competent and honest. Disciplined, for lack of a better term. I know.
Sorry. That almost caused me to have COVID then. No, sorry. Carry on.
Jacinda would love you for that. She'd be able to just roll out the fifth booster. Or four.
Her and her cousin can go and have some fun together.
What they did, Mark, what they did is they introduced this act and conned Kiwis to think that you could actually complain about a judge and just get them disciplined because if they were acting outside of law, they were doing things unlawful, they were ignoring evidential material, they were just doing all sorts. But what this act does, the sole purpose of this act, and this is the reason why I actually looked into it, to enhance public confidence in and to protect the impartiality and integrity of the judiciary system by. Now, this is the most important thing, because it's in the words. It's very simple. Provide a robust investigation process to enable informed decisions to be made about the removal of a judge.
Sorry, carry on.
The removal of a judge. That is the Act's sole purpose, is to record process, laws of how to go about removing a judge or firing a judge, for lack of a better term, from office.
Right.
Never, ever happened in New Zealand history, and it will not happen. There is nothing in this Act that records any process of how to go about disciplining a judge, or the grounds on which they could be disciplined, or what act justifies discipline, or anything. And hopefully, Mark, you'll be able to put this document up.
Which one here or after?
The document we're looking at right now.
Yep.
There is so much. We've got, since the Office of the Judicial Conduct Commissioner opened in 2005, I believe, it's in the document there.
Yep.
To the 31st of July last year, 3,584 complaints and not one successful. 100% dismissal rate of complaints made against New Zealand judges.
There's not one complaint, resulted.
No, they can do as they please. And if you go down, there's a section in this Judicial Conduct Commissioners Act. Go down for a sec. Keep going. Keep going. Stop. This says it all. And this gives them ultimate power. It is not the function of the commissioner to challenge or call into question the legality of this, the legality or correctness of any instruction, direction, order, judgment, or any other decision given or made by a judge in relation to any legal proceedings. Don't bother filing a complaint about a New Zealand judge. It is a waste of time.
Exactly. What is the point of creating that? And as we've already pointed it out to everyone, they created the JCC Act to give the appearance that all of a sudden judges are going to be held to something in New Zealand to shut up the report from the Special Rapporteur of the UN back in 2000.
It's a ruse. It's a criminal.
The judges were acting unlawfully. So
yeah,
they
we still do that.
Yeah.
Mark, we don't have a process in New Zealand to keep a selective group of people employed as judges that have immense power to destroy your life or to make your life better, either or.
Mm.
There are no laws in New Zealand to keep checks and balances to ensure these people are not acting unlawfully, illegally, grossly incompetently.
Mm.
There's nothing. There's nothing at all. I suppose, of anything, Mark, I mean, we've got absolute troopers walking into our courts. Sue Gray, I mean, what an amazing person.
Oh, yes.
What an amazing person. There's plenty of them walking in there, attempting to get justice for us.
Mm.
But unfortunately, what's going to happen, and as we've seen this, I mean, Sue won last year. I believe the judge was Judge Ellis. Whether or not that's correct, so we need to actually to check whether I'm correct in that. That Judge Ellis found that Ardern and co had rolled out the jab unlawfully, and within 24 hours, I think it was May last year, that judgment was handed down by the High Court. And within 24 hours of that judgment, Ardern and Bloomfield and Hipkins and everything had just rushed into their little back room and changed the Medicine Act and gave them discretionary powers. And so they went on to just continue rolling this out. when you have a parliament or people within government, a Dern and Co,
moving the goalpost,
that has the power to get away with an unlawful act as they did and not be held accountable for that, to be able to walk in and change the law just like that, to make a high court decision invalid. What's going on, Mark?
Yeah, exactly. So how much success do you think these people are going to get to? I mean,
Zero.
Even if you manage to arrest Andrew.
Zero. They won't arrest Andrew Little because at the end of the day, you end up in court. You end up in court, Mark, in front of these people that have no law to control them.
As you and I both know, the only justice you get in New Zealand courts is the justice that you make yourself. You know, you're only going to get it if you work for it. And even then, I mean, take me.
Not even that, Mark.
Take me.
I remember.
If you take me challenging like the $80 ticket or a parking ticket,
absolutely.
They'll let me win because they want to give people the general impression that there's law and order. That if you do
a little win, a little tiny win for the kids.
Exactly right. But then when we take to something substantial like getting your entire family trust and your life savings destroyed by underhanded lawyers, then you get what you get, which was
and also this scenario as well, Mark.
Yeah,
I mean,
Judge Bell was actually looking favourable to you before he went to lunch, wasn't he?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. When we walked in, Crown Law. Gosh, I'd love to remember her name. You can come to mind, but I will. You can edit the video and so you can put it in. Judge Bell said to her, "Well, don't you think this is a cover-up by police? Because my ex-partner's a police officer, and the likes of Anna Jackson. Oh my God, she's so corrupt. Anna Jackson is the superintendent of police, professional conduct.
His police buddies wouldn't perjure themselves on the stand or anything now, would they?
No, not at all. But Judge Bell was actually in favour of, when he first started the whole thing, in the morning, as I say, oh gosh, I'm just trying to, it's on the tip of my tongue, this Crown Law person. Love the way to say Crown Law. Crown Law is supposed to protect the public, not the other way around. And he said, isn't this a cover-up? And she literally melted into, like, she didn't know what he was, she was gagging, she didn't know what to say.
And then the West melting when you poured water on it.
Yeah, it was almost like Wizard of Oz all over again with the water thing. And after we had morning break, we came back. She was Deborah Harris, that was it. Deborah Harris, Crown Law.
Hey, Deb.
Good old Debbie. Good old Debbie.
Awesome.
And what happened was she just didn't know what to say to Judge Bell. I mean, he said, "Isn't this a cover-up?" And she, when he came back at lunchtime with this judgment that was already written, and I finished my submissions.
I'm sure he didn't have long enough time, even though you hadn't even finished your submissions. I'm sure he didn't have long enough time in his lunch break to write an entire 22-page finding and decision.
How can you do a 22-page oral? They call them oral. For anybody that's watching. Well, for anybody that's watching, we know what oral judgments are and we know what reserved judgments are, Mark. So just really quickly explain. If you're in a court of law, you're in front of a judge, what they call an oral judgment is they make a decision on that day and they come out and they just record it. They tell you what this decision is. When a judge decides to think, okay, I need to have a think about this, they call it a reserved judgment. So they don't give you the judgment on the day. You can get that within 1 day, 2 days, 3 days via email, a copy of what they've found. So
6 to 8 months down the line.
Exactly. They could wait till, however, that's called a reserved judgment. An oral judgment is a judgment on the day in front of you. That's what it is.
Decision.
Yeah. So he comes in with this 22-page judgment. I saw him carrying in after lunch this folder, and I thought, what's going on here? But I continued on with my submissions and everything else. And then when I'd finished, because Crown Law had applied to strike out, which means kick out what I'm saying, the application of what I'm saying is a statement of claim actually, but kick out our pleadings, one's my pleading, they have the right to answer last. So they go first, I answer second, they go third.
Right.
Judge Bell turned around and said about this cover-up, and he says, I don't see a cover-up, Miss Harrison, do you?
But he said it in the morning.
He said that in the afternoon.
Yeah, but
in the morning he said a cover-up.
There was a cover-up in the morning, but in the afternoon, he's telling Crown Law, I don't see nothing. He turned into Sergeant Schultz.
No, what Roger Bell did was he said, it looks like a cover-up. What do you think, Miss Harrison? That was in the morning, and she didn't know where to put herself. And then in the afternoon, he comes back after lunchtime break and says, after I finished my submission, says, well, it appears to be a cover-up, but I don't think so. What do you think, Miss Harris? And she didn't know where he was coming from, because she'd been put right in the spot in the morning. She didn't know how to answer it. And all of a sudden, she's been told by Judge Roger Bell. In fact, I won't even call him a judge. Yeah. He's a person that has control over so many people's lives, but has no law to control him.
So she was told by the bell end. Yep.
He turned around and said, I don't believe there's a cover-up. Well, I don't think there's a cover-up. They won't give me the transcript of the hearing. Right. Funny that. But then all of a sudden, Deborah Harris said, oh no, sir, I don't think there's a cover-up at all. And I just thought, oh my goodness, you know, that's why I was so adamant that I would never walk into a court of law again until such time this was fixed. And then through my research, I find out, you know, the UN has said there's no process in New Zealand to discipline judges. There's no laws to control them, people that are employed as judges. Then I find out this ridiculous Judicial Conduct Commissions Act comes in. It's only for the removal of a judge. The process takes about 5 years. Never happened in New Zealand's history. Will not happen in New Zealand's history. We still do not have a process in New Zealand that controls these people.
So what happened with Judge Wilson? Because people will go, oh, Wilson, he was kicked off. What happened with him?
Well, no, he wasn't kicked off.
I'm sure you'd love to bring Chucky's bride up about this one too.
Well, Sue Gray, Sue Gray knows all about this. But I actually wrote it. Judith Collins, yeah.
You know, Chucky's bride.
Chucky's bride, yeah. Bless. I know Judith Collins personally, and she's just all for herself. There's no integrity there.
Narcissistic.
She was one of those people that pushed through the Independent Police Conduct Authority, which is no more independent than the judiciary right now, and it continues on. It's just a circle, insidious merry-go-round that of players, selective players right at the top that just con people, and it's just
the reason for it. From what I seem to see, the reason for it is that as long as they keep people going around in circles all the time, that not only are they breaking down the people that are trying to seek justice, but they're all getting paid still. All the lawyers are getting paid, all the judges, they're just keeping that money system running.
Oh, it's families. It's families that have total control over law in New Zealand. Well, it's not even law. It's a just us system. I call it the cha-ching thing. That's what I call it. The cha-ching thing. And that's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, you've got, I don't know whether some of your listeners would or viewers would know about the Bill Wilson affair. That's in the document.
Yeah.
What he did was good old Frenzy Wenzy, William Wilson, who was a friend of Christopher Finlayson, who was the Attorney General for New Zealand. Christopher Finlayson is corrupt as the day is long, but anyway, he was good friends. And Bill Wilson all of a sudden became High Court judge, Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court really fast, like unheard of. But anyway, good old Bill Wilson was sitting on Court of Appeal, three-panel judge. Judge of three of them on a panel.
Tribunal.
And unbeknownst to the people this one side was that Judge William Wilson, his business partner for a horse stud, was representing Braithwaite, I think he was called, representing the people that had taken the matter to Court of Appeal because they didn't agree with the High Court judgment. And Bill Wilson owed this chap, I think it was a QC actually, around about, I think it was about 250,000. It's all in the document.
Yeah.
And so the other side that lost.
And if anybody wants to look at these documents, I'll try and make sure all the links are in the description. But carry on.
Well, Sue Gray's client lost, and then all of a sudden they found out, hang on for a second, good old Bill's got a bit of a business relationship going with this opposite side, this QC. So then all of a sudden it came out. And what happened was they made complaints to the Judicial Conduct Commissioner. At that time, it was David Gascoigne, who was dating, at the time, the Governor-General. Reedy, I don't know what her first name was, but people can look it up. Yeah. Governor-General is the person that appoints judges. So, I mean, honestly, this is crazy. It's just, the whole thing is just crazy. But anyway, what happened was they found out about this whole debacle, and there was complaints going in about the association, the business association with good old Bill Wilson. And this, I'm sure his name was Braithwaite or something. Again, it's in the documents. But what happened was they were all being ignored by David Gascoigne, who was the Judicial Conduct Commissioner at the time. All these complaints were being ignored. So all of a sudden, a guy called Edmund Thomas, he's called Ted Thomas, he's a former Court of Appeal judge, had a look at this. He was one of the guys that was at university. I believe he was a law lecturer or head of the law fraternity there. He got so hacked off with what was going on, he filed a complaint against what Bill Wilson was doing, or what he was getting away with.
Have you got something you want to share on your side?
Well, no.
We'll go back to the just us two. Carry on.
So, not leave meeting cats. So what happened was, Edmund Thomas, former Court of Appeal judge, filed a complaint against Bill Wilson, and he was being ignored as well. Now, none of the general public, this is in 2010, 2012, none of the general public knew what was going on. Ted Thomas got so brassed off with being ignored that he decided to just send a copy of his complaint, Judicial Conduct Commissioner complaint, to the Herald.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it became public.
Really? Was that back when the Herald was actually not getting paid for and bought?
Exactly, yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
They actually did their job.
That's why it became public. And then what happened was Bill Wilson, the Attorney General, because what happens with the Judicial Conduct Commissioner, he goes, I'll look at the complaint. Is it worthy of sending it to the Attorney General to see whether or not we need to get a Judicial Conduct panel to be appointed to have a look at this complaint? Because he's only the preliminary investigator. He can't do anything. He can't kick off a judge. Yeah. He's only a little pleb down here, right? You know, the big ones that Governor General has the right to finally kick a judge out. Won't happen. Never will happen.
So he's not as high up on the totem pole.
Oh, no, he's right down here. Right. He's right down here. So what happened, it's just like, it's almost like Keystone Cops. It really is. It's just a joke. So what happened was, because of the New Zealand Herald and other journalists picked it up, they were pushed into, what do we do now? So the Attorney General, Christopher Finlayson, had to step away because his frenzy Wednesday, Bill Wilson, right? So then he appointed good old Judith Collins.
He had to step away because the Attorney General,
conflict of interest.
The people from the Judicial Conduct Commission are supposed to report it to be dealt with.
The Attorney General.
So he had to step aside and allow someone else because of the conflict. Carry on. Yep.
Yeah. The Judicial Conduct Commissioner goes to the Attorney General if they believe that a complaint is worthy of setting up a panel of judges.
They haven't had that belief much lately, have they?
Well, so what happened was Christopher Finlayson stepped aside because Bill Wilson was his mate, who had actually made sure that went from High Court, I don't even think it was High Court, it was straight to Court of Appeal. Again, maybe my memory is a bit foggy, but again, it's in the
It's all in the
It's in
document.
the document. But Judith Collins was appointed as the Attorney General.
Ooh,
Oh, God. Good old Judy. Good old Judy. God.
give her some power and look out.
Oh. So then she decides, because of public pressure, to recommend that a judicial conduct panel be appointed to look at this complaint. Well, there was three complaints actually against this guy, Bill Wilson. One from a former Court of Appeal judge, Ted Thomas. So what happened was, good old Bill Wilson packed the pip and thought, sod you. So he decided to go to the High Court. And he decided to ask the High Court judge, which is way below him. So you can just imagine a very, very high rank. By this time, he's Supreme Court Judge, Bill Wilson, asking a judge 2 levels down for a judicial, it's called a judicial review. But for those folk that don't know about a judicial review, it's all about...
Any decision can be reviewed in the higher court.
Not so much. It's about legal process not being followed, as opposed to if you go into like a high court, you can produce evidence. It's all about evidential material and everything else. But judicial review is all about process not being followed. It went against law or process.
Sure.
Bill Wilson packed it. How dare you recommend that a panel, a judicial panel be set up to question me? So he went into the High Court. He both sides literally lost. I mean, they just became a stalemate. There was no cost awards or anything, which means that one side wins, so a judge orders the other side to pay them some
Sort
legal
of like
funds
a
or whatever.
thing. Nothing's going to eventually.
Yeah. So he knew he was losing. Bill Wilson knew he was losing, so he quit as a judge. He quit. Right. That meant, by quitting as a judge, the 3 complaints that had been made to the Judicial Conduct Commissioner that the Judicial Panel Act was supposed to hear were gone.
Yeah.
Completely gone. They're in a state of complete...
It's almost like Selwyn Lee's resigning from the Medical Council.
Exactly. That's exactly how it works. They stripped, by quitting, Bill Wilson quitting as a judge, they stripped the Judicial Conduct Panel, made up of judges, lower judges, supreme, of dealing with what they've done. That his mate, his business partner, had come in while he was a Court of Appeal judge, and had given the judgment. He favoured him over, he should have stepped back. He should have, what they call, recluse himself, stepped back, said conflict of interest, can't deal with this, but he didn't.
Right.
But what happened after that was that Bill Wilson, compliments of Judith Collins, was given $475,000
of whose
towards
money?
his taxpayers' money.
Yep.
Because he quit and he'd spent all this money in High Court with all this legal fees. Judith Collins gave him $475,000 of taxpayers' money to cover his legal fees. Totally illegal payment. Totally illegal payment. The section or the law that she used to justify this payment was Section 27 of the Judicial Conduct Panel Act, which specifically states that legal costs are only related to a judicial conduct hearing. Nothing to do with High Court. That's a completely different jurisdiction.
Sure.
So he got a legal payment. No one in Parliament's questioned Judith Collins on this. He got a golden handshake, I think it was about $500,000, and he gets to keep his retirement superannuation as a judge. Can you imagine how much money that's giving him each year?
Because
this being the same man, Mark, this being the same man that still has 3 complaints not decided because they're in an infinite state of limbo, because nothing can be done because he quit.
Wow.
And he's now started up a company now. It's to do with funding. I wish I had more time with this. You can put a link on this, you can edit it. Funding legal litigation for people that have really strong cases. I mean, it is just disgraceful. But it continues. you hear in the news that a judge has been taken to task and it's Judicial Conduct Panel Act or Judicial Panel Act has been appointed, but you never hear anything else. And the reason why you don't hear anything else, the reason why you don't hear anything else is because we simply have no damn laws to take checks and balances in place for people that are employed as judges in New Zealand. They are above the law. They continue to be above the law. They are doing insidious acts to people and they are not being held accountable. I feel so sorry for Sue Gray. She's an absolute darling. She's an absolute trooper for Kiwis. I could just cry for her. I really could cry for her. I could cry for the New Zealand public. It's about time that we got this sorted, and the only way we can possibly get this sorted is by filing a statement of claim into the High Court with one of those causes of action being misfeasance. Misfeasance being gross negligence. Unlike you, Judge Bell, that told me misfeasance, I had to prove that the New Zealand police deliberately lied. No, sorry, sweetheart, that's malfeasance, not misfeasance. There's 3 levels of feasance.
Yeah, that's right.
It's about time that QCs got together, barristers got together, lawyers got together, conveyancers got together and said enough is enough. I mean, to walk into a court of...
club, aren't they?
Well, I don't... What's it? There will be... I haven't met them, Mark, but there will be people that are judges in New Zealand that are astute, that have integrity, that have morality, that follow the law, that don't allow their personal views to corrupt their decision. Those are the ones we want in our court system. Those are the ones. We do not want the likes of John Wild, which is up at Court of Appeal. His surname is apt to his character. Anthony Randerson. If anybody that is a lawyer or a barrister, a QC, is watching this right now, this Anthony Randerson, I believe he's now retired, told me in an email that it was irrelevant what rule an application was filed under. That is nonsensical.
Crazy.
Just because I don't have a license to practice law, Mr. Randerson, doesn't mean I don't know about law. I mean, it just goes on. The amount of injustice that has been done at the moment, Mark, it will continue until we realise that everybody within the judiciary, lawyers, and everything needs to stand up. If you want to win cases on an honest level, on integrity, not so much integrity, on law and evidential value, then you need to stand up and do something.
Exactly.
Why are you walking in? You may say to people, I'm a barrister, I'm a QC. Who cares? I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because you're being a pleb when you're walking into that court, standing before somebody that has no laws in New Zealand whatsoever to control them. They can do as they please with you. I mean, in 2000, I believe, I'm sorry, Mark, to get so passionate, but I'm so angry.
This is why they act the way they do, because they know that there's nothing holding them to account. Nothing.
I mean, there's no point in walking into a court of law at the moment in New Zealand, and in fact, Australia, Canada, everything's the same. Every system is the same. No one in these countries are being held accountable. There's no checks and balances. There's nothing.
Yep.
They are a law to themselves. I mean, I remember in 2000 and I believe 16, 17, 18, I mean, it's all a blur.
I'm pretty sure there was an Australian case where a judge was removed, or there is something in Australian law. I think it might be for the federal.
No, well, I read that, Mark, but no, it's not. No, I looked up on that and it was,
Okay.
No, it's the same old. It was the same old. I mean, I remember a barrister called Richard Pigeon, and he is the son of the QC, Colin Pigeon, who is now deceased.
Right.
And Richard Pigeon was doing legal aid work for my mother and I because we'd lost everything. We'd spent thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands, well, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of dollars on legal fees. I think it was about $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. Who's got that to actually spend to try and turn around a decision of a malicious person that doesn't like you? And Richard Pigeon said to me, court is a personality competition. And I thought to myself, what the devil is he talking about? What is he talking about? No, it's not. It's all about evidence. It's about law.
Well, that's
After what I've experienced, that's what I thought at the time. But after I experienced it, Mark, after I really did some research, and after I saw what happened to my mother and I through Roger Bell, who's only an associate judge. I don't even know if he's supposed to be dealing with a misfeasance claim anyway, being only an associate in High Court, not a High Court judge at all.
Would it matter anyway, given that there's no way to reprimand him for doing so?
No, there's nothing. But now I understand what Richard Pigeon meant by court as a personality competition. It is a just us system. It is not a justice system. And until we sort this out, and it's not just New Zealand, it's Australia, as I said, it's Canada, all over the world, the Commonwealth countries mostly, that we get some laws bloody well in place to get some checks and balances to ensure that people that are employed as judges are kept honest and competent. They will continue to control our lives. And this is the reason why we're not getting any positive judgments as far as what Sue Gray's been doing and what everybody else has been doing. Scientific, unequivocal scientific evidential material. And they still won't stop this rollout.
Because they didn't want to look too favourably on Sue Gray, it's because they didn't want to discredit or put a dampener on the vaccine program. And yet they're supposed to be judging on whether it's safe in the first place.
Well, it's not safe. We all know it's not safe. They have blood on their hands,
I'm pretty sure that in Parasite Palace at the moment, they're all fully aware that there's a few people who aren't too happy. Day 8.
Yeah. It's about time all these QCs and everything just I don't know, grew a spine.
Yeah.
And stood up and said enough's enough.
Yeah.
File a statement of claim on one of the causes of action being misfeasance against the government. And I'm not just talking about Labour, I'm talking about national. It's been going since Adam was a boy.
Yeah.
Put it in front of a damn judge in the High Courts, because you can't go any further. You can't go to Court of Appeal. That's Court of Appeal and Supreme Court are appellate courts, appeal courts.
Sure.
Go to the damn High Court. Put this in front of a judge. Put this in front of a judge and say to them, this government has not ensured that people employed as New Zealand judges are kept honest and competent. I don't know whether you call that, I mean, malfeasance, there's a huge threshold to meet, but certainly misfeasance is there. It's gross negligence.
Certainly.
That's what needs to be done.
Failure in public office, that's for sure.
Oh. Put it in front of a judge. Don't go to your MPs. Waste of time.
You wouldn't be able to see them anyway at the moment. They only do phone appointments. They're too scared of someone seeing them. Why?
They're all looking after their own pockets. They're all looking after their own pockets. I want I want the legal industry, Law Society, whoever's in the Law Society. I can't stand. I don't know whether or not Mary Olivier is still there. She's ghastly. She's just horrible. I could put a bit of information out about her. She's just corrupt as the day is long. But these people that show off about, you know, I'm a QC, I'm a barrister or whatever. Well, do something.
But,
You're a pleb. You're walking into court in front of these people that have no laws in place they're a law to their own. You're just as vulnerable as us. Yeah. Only you lie in your pockets.
I mean, just because they've been a barrister for 40 years or 45 odd years, like my good friend, you know, Bruce Northey at the moment, who's dealing with the NRHCC and that nurse trying to run me over at Message.
Now, what is for the viewers, Mark? Because I didn't know, because I know about JCC and all that sort of stuff, like Judicial Conduct Commissioner. But what is the N? What is it? What is it actually? NRHCC
is a National Regional Health Coordination Centre. They're the ones that deal with all the pop-up testing sites that aren't being run by DHB. They are private contractors.
DHB is
District Health.
District Health Board. Okay, yeah.
So Auckland DHB.
I knew what DHB was, but for some viewers, they may not know that.
Yeah, and this guy has been given limited scope, but now responsibility, as he's saying, to deal with my complaint about the nurse and the behaviour. in his first responses to me, he just, instead of treating me like the victim of their behaviour, he accused me of breaching the Privacy Act. I asked him a simple question, are you a lawyer? He couldn't even answer that. I found out he was entered into the Bar Association in 1975. So here's a lawyer that's been going for 45 plus years, and he can't answer a simple question like, are you a lawyer? And I had to go and find out myself.
Because he relies on his employment position to intimidate you.
His position to intimidate me. Well, because I knew the law and I gave him straight back and all of that, I'm going to be releasing in a separate video later on, but I've still got to practice a phone call to make tomorrow to him. So, yeah, that'll get released. But it just goes to show, I mean, Roger Chambers was the amicus curiae appointed by Nicola Mathers, Judge Nicola Mathers, the $80 ticket. He himself had been doing it for 40 years and not seen one person in front of a judge to challenge a speeding ticket. That just goes to show how apathetic and asleep most people are.
Excuse me. Oh, I'm coughing now. I must have COVID.
Oh, no.
I know.
My mic won't catch it, will it? Just, yeah, I'll put a mask on my mic, shall I? That might work. Although
it might work. I doubt it.
The microphone might end up getting carbon dioxide poisoning, but no, anyway, not to worry. Yeah. It can handle carcinogen. So, yeah.
I think if anything, Mark, we just, all these wonderful Kiwis. I mean, I wish I could be down there. My car's in the mechanics right now.
Yep.
I've been trying to get a lift down there. I can't, but the whole roads are swamped with everybody going down and freedom fighting. Incredible. I mean, Chantel Baker's just doing the most incredible, just amazing.
Yep.
Counter spin, you know, you name it. There's so many. The whole, all the countries coming together and saying, you know, enough is enough. We've had enough. We've had enough.
It's just a shame it took the government killing your small children before they got off their asses to do it. When, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been protesting for years about the way the government and the court system are. But I mean, that was only focusing on family court and those people that have been destroyed by that court system. You know, this affects everybody. Every person's got kids or grandkids or some relation that they don't want to see get hurt. So,
that's right.
Well, anyway, I'll end as far as now with the JCC, so I can get that up and edited and whatnot. Thank you very much for coming in and saying your piece so passionately this afternoon.
Thank you, Mark, and you're passionate as well. You're an absolute trooper. You really are. You're a freedom fighter. Way before COVID, you were there on the front lines.
Oh well, everyone's doing what they can. I'd love to be down there too, but you know, my health's still not good enough for the travelling. So yeah, them's the breaks. But we're all working. We might not be down there. There are still people working in the background. I've got to.
I tell you what, Mark, I can stand on that bridge tomorrow at Papakura Voices for Freedom, our Papakura group. We're going to be lining up with all the people going down to Wellington and putting up big flags and everything. We can't get down there, at least we can support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool.
All right, mate. We'll have a great night.
Yep. Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. See ya. Bye.